welcome to Your Soul Wisdom, hosted by Yana Amor Manocas. In each episode, we invite you on a transformative journey delving into the profound mysteries and wisdom of the soul. Join us as we explore a wide array of spiritual topics and sacred practices that nurture and heal the soul, from reincarnation and soul contracts to the enigmatic experiences of womb alchemy and astral travel. Our discussions are designed to enlighten, inspire, and deepen your understanding of your own soul's journey. With Your Soul Wisdom, nothing is off limits.
Sausage. Well, there you go. Sausage activated.
No,
maybe we need to make every guest say sausage.
Sausage all the time.
Put that in the clip.
I may drop it in there.
Yeah,
Your job, Daniel, will be to find all the sausage clips.
It's my job.
I'm sorry.
He just took a job. Oh my god!
I'm the sausage hunter,
and you're making him work. I think he would enjoy it.
Is it not enough that I already did your theme music?
Okay. Let's begin. Okay, listen. Let's start off this episode.
I'm gonna go watch all your episodes to find the word sausage. You remember how skittish you were, oh, you don't have to do. I'm like, hey, it's fun. It's fine. It won't take me long. But now you want me to go find sausage and everything?
That's how much I care and love you and appreciate you that I want to assign you a task.
Oh my god.
He's going to assign you a Google document. Just wait.
Okay, listen. Let's stop the derailments. Let's get back and let's give you.
What are we talking about today?
Well,
sausage.
We're going to get to that. Before we get to that, okay. I do want to thank you, Daniel. You are the one that helped me with the opening theme song, opening of, was that the intro? Is that what it's technically called?
Yeah.
You did such a beautiful job. I never would have figured out how to do that on my own. And you did it in 3 seconds. You're like, boom, boom, boom. Although you did try to make me echo myself at the end, which I nixed. I 86. However, the end result was absolutely beautiful. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
Yes, Daniel, thank you.
Can I just say it was awesome? And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Can you elaborate on that?
It made it very real, didn't it? When Yana sent it out to us, it made it very real.
Oh, it was wild.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Oh my god.
It was so wild. It was
okay, so
who do we think we are?
So we're talking about going left. Is that what we're doing today?
Yes. Do you want to open us up, Kylie, and tell us what that's all about?
You met Kylie?
She's frozen.
Can I introduce you to Kylie?
Yes, I am totally frozen, having technical difficulties.
Start the car.
Yana, you're the fucking host. Host it.
I know. Fired before I start. No, we need Lauren with all of her words, her elegance.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't have any words.
Oh, you do.
Okay, so again, let's reel us back in.
Okay.
Today we are talking about what it means to go left, right? And what we mean by that is we often very much, and usually behind the scenes on our girl chats, we talk about this false light and what it means when people say when you're about to cross over, you've heard forever, go into the light, go into the light. That's where you're supposed to go. That's how you go home. And so for however long, and I think individually and then collectively, we had this conversation where we really started to learn about the fact that going into the light is actually a false light. And all that light is doing is bringing you right back into this karmic incarnation wheel. And we want to get off the wheel. So we want to go, instead of going into the light, we want to go left and go away from the light and kind of get off the hamster wheel, if you will. So that's what we're talking about today. Daniel, are you with us so far?
Mm-hmm. I have so many questions.
Okay,
you're meant to be answering them.
Plus, Yana, I thought that when we talked and tested this, it was we turn to the left
and turn around.
Turn around and look back.
So you go to the left, but you turn.
So we'll have
back.
to explain that because that was our conversation.
Okay, Amanda, or who wants to explain?
Well, I think it came down to the fact that we were discussing whether or not going to the left, is it to the left or to the right? But what happened was that I had seen a video on somebody speaking about this years ago, I think maybe in the 70s. Somebody had sent me this video, didn't even know we were even having this conversation behind closed doors. And there was this old guy who was speaking about when you pass, that you don't go into the light because that's exactly what you just said, Yana. But what you actually do is that you turn and you look around, you look to the back of you, because when you turn around and look back, then the whole of the galaxy spreads out in front of you. So so you have choice. Then you have choice. So what happened was, I think we did a rod session and we asked the rods that question. It might have been in the session where everything did go to the left. And
It did.
yeah, and we asked the rods that question, and it was a fact of you didn't go to the right, because we were asking which way do you go? Is it that you go to the left or the right at that time? And it said, and it was more the case of you go to the left, and then we kind of like surmised, was it you go to the left, but you go round? It was, and he also answered yes to looking back. To looking back.
Yeah.
So you probably go that way. That's be something, I guess, too. That's my left. Go that way round and look back. I don't know how thing, but it was very real at the time. And a lot of things had come together at that moment in time. And I think I'd also mentioned that, I also talked about this the other day, that, you know, also hearing and understanding it, it made so much sense to me when people say that if going to the light is the real thing for us to do, then there'll be no need for us to have loved ones come to greet us, to convince us to go towards the light. We would just go into the light. But why do they have loved ones come out to greet us?
Well, but not only that, hold on, but
Yeah, the loved
the
ones,
issue,
wasn't that a bit sus as well?
yes. So
Yeah.
the issue I have with that is, if that in fact is what's happening, is it actually our loved ones? Is it actually St. Peter? Is it actually like these high ascended masters that are coming to greet us? Or is it a, if you will, hologram
Of that,
or a false something that's just guiding you back? And that sounds so terrible to even think about or like to put out there. But when you sit here and you go, we're in this prison planet, we're stuck here. Yes, there is no beginning, there's no end, this will never end, we will do this over and over and over. But if we are in fact, quote unquote, stuck here and trying to get off, then to me, it's like, yes, that has to be a false loved one, a false prophet, a false whatever to get me to come back. I don't see it any other way.
Look, I get stuck with that. And well, not stuck. The things that come up for me is that if these are the instructions, they really are counterintuitive to what humans normally do. Like literally everyone that's right-handed naturally turns to the right. Do you know what I mean? And it would never occur to, I've never looked behind me when I've left something. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's sort of like this weird combination of really ultimate consciousness and base consciousness at the same time to do what you wouldn't instinctually do. And that is the sort of trick. And, you know, even this hologram thing of these people, it just, you know, if this is a game, then seriously, that's just more of the game, isn't it? I mean, like, it's not a particularly nasty bit.
It is more of the game. Well, that depends on where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Because if they are part of the hologram and that's part of the game, then you're being tricked into coming back into reincarnation. You're being tricked into thinking that this is. Well, it is.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with
this is real.
It is a massive illusion. These are games. These are experiments that we've all been put into. I think there's been about 12 experiments that have been actually executed on this planet since the beginning. Okay, with humans and with DNA and with all of that. The thing is that throughout all of our DNA, we have been raised, grown, and groomed without choice. We think we have choice, but it is really without choice. Because, okay, if we look at the simple thing of left and right, years ago and up until, I don't know, maybe up to about 50 years ago, children were actually beaten at school. May not be in this country, but in the Caribbean cultures and Caribbean countries and things like that, and even Africa, to be left-handed was a demonic thing. It was, you had the devil in you. So they used to
I think they used to tie them behind your back and make you use your right in other countries. Yeah.
Yeah. So my mum was left-handed, and she used to be tried to be beaten out of her at school. You'd get the cane, you'd either get whipped on your hand, or you get the cane on your hand, or something like that. You know what I mean? Because you were supposed to be right-handed. Who decided that? Who decided we were supposed to be right-handed? So that goes through the DNA. So we predominantly born and grow for your DNA to be right-handed. And every time we come across somebody that's left-handed, it's, oh my God, you're left-handed. Who decided that
Yeah,
right was
she's
dominant?
turning left.
Do you know what I mean?
Naturally.
And so when I was a little
Naturally.
girl, when I was a little girl living in Greece, my father's mother, my grandmother, one of the few things I remember her saying to me was that if I don't learn how to write with my right hand, that God's not going to love me.
Wow, there it is.
Yeah,
That's rough.
and I was like little, like 4, 5, 6 years old, and I remember her saying, like, I'll never forget. And I remember thinking to myself, man, how do I have like such high like self-esteem for myself when you remember things like that? That could easily like screw you up, especially your connection to source.
Yeah,
God's
100%. 100%.
Just
But
to
you see,
go
right-hand
totally-
people would never experience that because we're just not going to experience any of that. So we don't know really the plights of a left-handed people or even the plights of a left-handed world. I mean, somebody's probably written a book or a film somewhere about the left-handed people and all the things that's happened to the lefties. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, I just think that there's so much that has been taken out of us and put into us, and we've been programmed in certain ways and programmed in certain things, that even the things that could be the norm and nothing's wrong with it, then has now become something that we just can't even go near, can't even touch. What's wrong with looking behind you? What is wrong with looking behind you? And
that's right. And we talked about that because there's that saying, don't look back, right?
Yeah.
So we hear that all the time, don't look back. And I didn't Google it before this episode, but like Zoolander cannot turn left, right? Am I right?
I don't know.
We're looking at Daniel.
one way, he
That's
can't
very
turn
funny.
left.
Google it, Kylie. Zoolander can't turn left.
It feels like Daniel should know the answer to this
Yeah,
question.
Daniel would know the answer. It's your opportunity to
Don't you
answer
feel-
questions before everyone starts talking.
Yeah.
Don't you feel though that even this turning left thing, the trickiness, it's like the kids, you know, when they're playing games and they have all of those combination buttons to press and it gets them up to a next level or something like that. Like it just feels like that. It just feels like you just get given a little code and all you need to do is actually remember it, but you need to be available to hear the code. Anyway, I'm obsessed with telling you guys where left-handed people come from.
Oh,
We're off track.
go on, Rachel. Go.
Go on,
Okay,
tell us.
so the theory is that many people who are conceived are actually conceived as a multiple birth, but that one of the fetuses, vanishes during the pregnancy, and it's never even known that they're part of a multiple birth. So identical twins, it's something like identical twins, the cell splits after a day. But if the cell doesn't split for a few days, then it produces something called mirror twins. And mirror twins are exact opposites of each other. So if one has a slightly raised left eyebrow, the other one will have a slightly raised right eyebrow, that kind of thing. So the theory is that left-handed people are surviving mirror twins. Anyway, there you go. That's Rachel's little
wild.
science bit for you. So there you go.
My
Can I
son's
bring
a
up
lefty.
A slightly different question. Can I discuss the ethics behind this in a sense of you are with someone who's literally on their deathbed and you're like helping them transition or you're trying to bring them comfort. Where does our ethics lie when we're telling them to go towards
So I can answer that.
familiarity?
I can answer
comfort?
that.
Please do.
So I've thought about this, and if you pass in an unconscious way, and I don't mean that as a negative, I just mean without knowing, this is how I've come to understand it, then the only thing that you can do is to guide them towards the light. It's the only thing that you can do, because they have no consciousness or no training or no understanding of going left or right or even turning around and looking behind. What does that all mean? So 9 times out of 10, they're going to be pulled back towards the light. Okay. So that's how I see it. It's like in the beginning where sort of like, you know, you you learn a particular thing, you do a particular training or a particular module. It's the only way how you know it. Somebody else knows or is training you in something different. Up until that point, you actually learn and complete the new stuff. You can only work with the old stuff. But what we talk about, it's not just a point of just passing and going to the left. It's in this lifetime, becoming as conscious as possible, is really knowing who you are, is really knowing what you are and everything about yourself. It's stepping into what we constantly talk about, is that sovereignty, so that when you do pass, you pass and you're conscious in your passing. Because when you do pass, you will be asked a question, because they will come and you have to be able to say no. I think that's where we kind of like went left as well, because we kind of went into the whole other stuff. But yeah, and the other conversation. But you do have to be able to make a choice to say no.
And there are a lot of people that would not be at that level of consciousness. Like a lot of people, you know, thinking about people who I know who've passed or, you know, maybe heading that way soon. They would not be able to hold this concept at all. So I really think it is about the availability of the consciousness in the incarnation as to whether you can even consider it.
Consider it. So it's one more 600 more lifetimes on the wheel. I think there has to be something to be said for the fact that all of us are very conscious of, I don't want to do this wheel again. I don't want to come back and do stuff again. And for what for? What is the reason? What are we doing here? I'm that kind of person whereby it really gets my goat when we talk about, you know, we're coming back to learn. I've gotten to a place now in the last 6-7 months where I kind of like say 2 fingers up to that. I think it's a crock of crap and I'm really not up for it. It's funny enough, I watched a really great film the other day called Life After Life, whereby a client told me about it. She probably, I think she listens to the podcast, so she'll know who she is. Called Life After Life. It's 4 episodes. It's really brilliant. It's about this girl that keeps dying. She keeps being born and dies and borns and dies, but she comes back into the same family all the time. And she comes back almost with a knowing. She has not that much memory. But what she has is a knowing that, so she comes back in and at certain points in time, she avoids certain things or she does certain things in order to avoid, in a sense, dying like she did in the past life. But her choice was to come back into the same family. So with the same siblings, the same this and the same parents and everything like that. And the film just keeps on going like that. Something happens, you know, she gets in the car and she dies. And then, she comes, and then you see her dying. And then she gets reborn again, and it runs. And as the film goes on, as its episodes go on, it runs really quickly through the rebirth, and then it comes right up to date. It got to a point whereby in it, she said, and it actually made me feel, I thought, oh my God, you guys, the girls need to see this. I actually thought in my head, because I felt so sad when she said, I just need to remember. She goes, it's so frustrating not being able to remember.
Yeah.
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 And so we talk about this all the time in, you know, tell me the point of learning where every time I come back, I'm starting at 0. Then what am I really actually learning? I don't even know what it is. I bloody well forgot or where it is. It should be, if we're learning, I'm coming back and I'm taking off with what I had before. I'm taking off from where I left before. But I mean, Daniel might say different because, you know, it's the past life regressionist. So
I've got a question. Sorry, Daniel, we will get to you. Sorry.
Let's hear what
you're Amanda, what you've made me realise is that I did have a felt sense at some stage.
Yeah, go on. Sorry,
in my life. I did have a felt sense at some stage in my life that I had got to wherever I had got to before, and I had gone past that point. And I really do think that all of you will agree with me, not that we've ever talked about this, that you've had the same feeling.
That happens, exactly. 100%.
So I'm not trying to be a shithead.
I
mean, like, we do have some remembrance. And, you know, in some ways, if we are going to go through that period, I don't even know if I would want to remember the same shit over and over again. Do you know what I mean? And honestly, I don't know if I'd want to be a baby coming in knowing what I know now.
Yeah, well,
I don't necessarily think it would make it easier.
It wouldn't work like, it really wouldn't work like that. but like, okay, if I look at it now, okay, I'm 56 years old. It's taken me a lifetime, literally a lifetime, to get to this point.
To find us?
Yeah, look at that. To find, yeah. And I'll tell you what, in the past, what is it, 6-7 months? No, in all honesty, in this past 6-7 months, I have grown, I think, more in these months with these conversations that we have, and I think the relationship, that energy and that love that we have, that we are all helping each other to remember, because we are getting to places a lot more faster now. I mean, I'll speak for myself, than we have before.
Yeah.
A lot more understanding. Because you see, this conversation that we're having, this was a conversation that I've been having with myself for about the last 10 years. And just plodding and trying to put together all the pieces, trying to pull together the pieces. Here, now, in the last, 6-7 months, I've said 2 fingers up to this. I know the game and I'm done. I'm absolutely done. But I've been done with reincarnation for a long time. I just couldn't figure out, why am I actually done with this? How much sense is this making to me? And how much choice do I actually have? And I don't want to learn anything anymore. I want to remember. I've always said that. So that's just me.
Yeah.
I think it's also because you have a connection, a multidimensional connection to lots of other possibilities. You know, I had a really interesting conversation with my best friend who is completely dedicated to coming back. She does not want to get off the wheel. She has a very different view about different things, and that's her story kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I would also think of other people that perhaps haven't had any kind of experience of that kind of freedom, let's call it, would actually find it really scary. Do you know what I mean? Like, I genuinely think there are lots of people that would be comforted with the concept that they can reincarnate and they can do it again, and they can learn, and they can, well, not learn, they can experience again, or, you know, that kind of thing. I think it's interesting that maybe the 5 of us, but I think
it's beautiful. Do you know what I mean? So I understand all of that, and I think it's beautiful. I have so many people in my life that I would love to come back with. My issue is with the fact that, do we actually have a choice, or what it is? I think is it that we're working towards, or that is really the free choice, and is it a trap? Is it a trap in the sense that, can we actually get out? Do I have a choice when I go over to say, nah, I don't want to reincarnate. I'm going off to planet, Kookaburra, and I'm good. You know what I mean? And I'll see you guys in another 10 light years.
Well, I actually had a chat with Rachel about this, because I have a sense that maybe some people don't have the choice. I feel like I chose, and I'm not even sure that I'm going left. Like, I don't know what it is, but I feel a sense of, I don't know, being here to help. And so I'm wondering if, for some people it is that they're not aware and they're, following the wheel. Maybe some people get to a certain level of consciousness where then they can go choose. And maybe some people choose to come to help.
100%.
How extraordinary it would be if everybody chose to come back. Can you imagine if the whole world was full of people, all of them that chose to come here? Well, how amazing it could also be.
But that's what the issue is. So many have chosen. We all have chosen. I chose to come here.
Yeah.
Help this planet in the shift that's going to happen. And I truly believe that. I've been saying this since I was a child, that I'm here. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I did know that I was here to help people make the jump. I think I've been with many planets whereby they have gone through some sort of shift. Do you know what I mean? And this planet is fascinating, as we've said before, because the planet and the humans are also supposed to be going through the shift together. My thing is that it's almost like saying, well, look, I want to go and shop in Sainsbury's. That's our supermarket, okay? Well, it's one of the supermarkets, the Sainsbury's, Tesco's, supermarket, Walmart, right? But you go into Walmart and suddenly they lock the door behind you and they say, well, you chose to come in, you're not going out. So, you're going to eat and live. We've got beds in the corner over there. you know,
my
we've got a
God,
whole, we've got everything, right? Well,
I was
whatever
happier in
it is,
Sainsbury.
you know, and you're not coming out. And so, you know, and this is what my issue is. So I think
Yeah.
what it is that I think what I think is about waking people up to choice. We've all chosen. We're all here in order to elevate human consciousness or to waken up human consciousness. So what are we waking it up to? What are we waking it up to? Do you know what I mean? But there is choice.
I'll let you know when I remember.
Well, there you go. Do you know what I mean? So I completely get it that, you know, you may not go left and you may come back. The thing is that you may go left and you go off somewhere else and you make that decision to come back in again. But I think we're all coming in with the thought and the feeling that we may be able to crack the code. We may be able to crack what it is, rather than ending up in this, for me, these, I just think it's just these aimless cycles. And I'm just really not up for anybody telling me that, you know, I'm back in this lifetime. Like I said to you, like guys, the last time, you know, that the reason why, you know, you probably got a wonky finger is because, you know, you stepped on the little sister's wonky finger in the last life. And so, you know, you've now got to experience a wonky finger. Well, she has all straight fingers and great nails. She's got great nails. I'm just saying.
Ladies, we do have a guest on the podcast.
I guess I know. I'm dying to know, Daniel. Jump on in.
Yeah.
Please.
We're all looking at you now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, first thing I need to address is Kookaburra is a real shithole. I've had a life there. Just, it ain't Earth, let's put it that way. So watch what you say about Kookaburra.
I had to say that while I took a drink. But it was the only thing I could think of.
The Australians.
Yeah.
Another thing, I already came in here feeling privileged. So, you know, as a straight white male who's an American. So now thank you for adding on the whole right hand thing. It's another reason I get to slap myself in the face when I look in the mirror later. Thank you. So everyone who's listening to me speak right now know that I'm coming from this place of privilege, you know, being all those things and right now as well.
Oh my God. Stop it. This is a fun, safe space. Stop it.
Didn't think I had that one working against me. My first question, just because I think to be able to gauge this conversation, I need to understand the backstory of the, we'll call it control. Would that be like the way to sum it up? The control of this, it sounds to be a system of manipulation. So what's the backstory behind that?
And we're at a sausage festival, like immediately. Daniel bought the barbecue.
Probably a full English.
Okay, let me give you sausage context, Daniel. Sausages is our safe word when we are getting into high channeled, high energy information. And especially when we're doing the rods and Kylie's holding all this energy, she's like, it's like, we can't. So it's our safe word. Sausages is okay. The reason Rachel threw that out is because to get into the backstory of why we are quote unquote a prison planet or stuck here or trying to escape, if you will, implies that at some point planet Earth was hijacked, right? And you listen to Dolores Cannon, you listen to all these different channelers, people who have all this information, well, although she's not a channeler, but all these different people who have brought forth information expressing just that. Okay, so that's like the base line of answering that question. Okay.
And it was about free choice. Do we actually have free will in terms of coming back?
Yeah, because when we did one of our Rod's episodes, and I'm not sure if this is one that we aired or not, we actually asked, are things predestined, predetermined, right? Before you incarnate, do you say, I want to experience or have X, Y, and Z? And the answer we got was, yes, things are predetermined. Then we asked, well, do we have free will? And the answer, ladies, correct me if I'm wrong, was, yes, we have free will, but to a certain extent. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was like, what's your definition of free will? free will within a certain range, right?
Yeah, which then is also bullshit, because then you're like, well, if things are predetermined, what kind of personal power do I really have anyway? Right. And the personal power, the way I've kind of learned to kind of like accept it, is like, whatever that predestined thing is, there are a few different ways to get there. One is that smooth sailing road where you get there and it's like a beautiful scenery and not too many bumps. Like, you're good, you get there at a decent time. The other one is that bumpy road with roadblocks and detours and, oh, let me stop at the beach and let me do all this, right? Which takes you off path. It takes you longer to get there. And then there's another option that's probably somewhere in the middle, or the faster time. Again, this is the whole timeline thing. But it's not.
But predestiny, we talked about it like being as themes, right? Not necessarily
Correct.
specific events. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So whatever that theme is of motherhood or business success or whatever that theme is, however it's going to play out, you do have some free will to how it plays out, but it's going to play out regardless. Right? Okay. Am I getting a little off track here?
No, just some more detail, which
good.
I found interesting.
But also,
Daniel, is if you don't we did test that the lessons do get ratcheted up. So you know how sometimes
if you don't
have a
listen,
sensation that you're like going, wow, this lesson's getting really intense now, the 100th time I've done it. Yes, that's actually what's happening. So, yes.
Right. Who set up the prison planet?
Well, look, I just want to, so some things I was listening to actually recent sort of channel material, spoke to exactly sort of what Amanda's mentioned before, but really that to a certain extent, Earth was some kind of experiment, right? Jump in anytime, Amanda. But that at some point in time, there was interference or someone tampered with the way things work here. So I don't believe, and I don't know which Rod's episode it was, but we were talking about like the original blueprint of the Earth and whether that's what's happening. But so it was set up a certain way. It was not the intention from the beginning, but something shifted and is playing out that we're sort of not aware of. But Amanda will be able to make that sound better.
Well, what I think the first intention for this was, or it is a big game, it has always been a big experiment, was to see if the creator gods could create a planet or race of beings that could be separate from God, that could find their way back to the divine, and how this journey would happen. But what has happened throughout time immemorial is that different races of beings from other planets have come into the planet, and there's been a lot of experimentation with humans. The DNA has been altered, the DNA has been changed, the DNA has been jumped, and lots of different things. And so that plan seems to be kind of, boiling away in the background. But chances are, we're on a planet of how many billion people? The percentage of those people making it back to source anytime soon is, I would have thought probably less than 10%. And that might sound quite sad, but that's because there's nothing within our world, within our governments, within religion, that is really working to give people that kind of sovereignty or that kind of knowledge or even that kind of understanding. A lot of it's locked away, we don't have access to it because there's certain people that choose to believe that we're not ready for that information, or we're not ready. So there's been so much. There are a lot of people on this planet that go by the understanding of I think his name is Melchizedek, is it? Who wrote the
Melchizedek. Melchizedek. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and so and they follow the story of the Anunnaki. That they came here to mine gold, because that's what they actually so they came here to mine gold, and they created, they're already beings here, but they created a form of humans that they used as slaves in order to mine the gold for them. So isn't it from Planet Nirabu, stuff like that? I've read the book, you wouldn't think I've read it, but so long ago, and I kind of like discarded some of it because it's not my origin. So I couldn't really resonate with it. I understood it in its entirety, but I couldn't really resonate with it because it's not my origin. But that is an origin for a lot of people. So yes, so I think that's where the slave planet comes from. That's what it was created for, in order to mine this gold. But then the story goes on further that when there was some kind of, when the massive floods happened, now people associate the floods with Atlantis, but people also associate the floods with the Anunnaki, that a lot of things got destroyed and whatever, and it just was too much to rebuild and to do all the humans all over again and to get all this gold out, stuff like that. So they left the planet. They had already mined and taken out a lot of the gold anyway. So, it goes on and goes on and goes on. But this experiment is called an experiment, and it's called a prison planet because of the constantly going back into this wheel, the constant going back into the wheel, constant going back into the wheel. We talk about when you die, you go on to meet God, but do you? But do you, if you're going back into the wheel and you're coming back into recycling? So where does this happen? What, do we get taken out on the day trip to see the divine? Hi.
I tell you what, though, Amanda, did you watch Chaos? I know Rachel did.
Have you guys watched it?
Oh my goodness, you got to watch all of it. No, you've got to. Okay. Yeah. And anyone who wants to know about,
for you, Amanda.
It speaks to this topic. Yeah. No, I second.
Okay.
So on a practical level, I can understand the gold component. Like if there were beings that came to this planet it's not much different than humans in that respect of just pillaging. But what's the purpose of keeping the reincarnation cycle going?
Oh, okay. So here's where now we get slapped.
Here's some sausages for you.
This is real. This is some sausages. So the understanding is that, see like how the Matrix films, like how humans are really in these pods, and they are, and all their energy, everything has been used to feed the machines. That's what they live off. It's what feeds the battery. Humans are batteries. That's what the understanding is that with this whole reincarnation cycle that we're in, we're called actually loosh. So all the energy, all the trauma that comes off us is feeding these other beings, the matrix that has created this whole system that we constantly reincarnate into and reincarnate into. So everything that comes off us and all of our energy and everything like that. So it's highly possible that we are asleep somewhere in some pods. I actually don't know, but there are a lot of us that do adhere to, like, the Matrix seems to be a very, very real thing. But that's what it is. They're feeding off what is called loosh. And I could find out what the exact meaning of this loosh is, but that's what it is. It's all this energy. It's everything that comes off us. It's all the trauma. It's all the constant going back and living and going through all of that stuff. Do you know what the loosh is?
Loosh is like that negative, low vibrational energy, right? Fear. Sadness,
pain, suffering,
like all of that. Yep, all of that.
Yeah.
And so, if you will, it's like, and I know I've mentioned this before, it's like the movie Monsters Inc. You've seen it, Daniel?
Correct. Yeah.
Have you seen Monsters, Daniel?
No.
Oh my God. Like,
that's great.
But don't have children. Don't watch children's films, Yana. It's like that.
I saw that before I had kids. Just saying.
Monsters Inc. is a great film.
You had kids, you were a child.
Monsters Inc. I'm just gonna give you a really quick, because I'm sure everyone else in the world has seen it. Monsters Inc. are these really cute monsters, right? They're animated, and their job, they go into this factory. There's two main ones, right? They go into this factory, and their job is these doors come down. Each employee gets a door, and they go through that door. And their job is to scare the child who's sleeping in their bedroom at night. And as the child gets scared and screams, it fills up these energy bottles.
Canisters. Yeah.
And that scream energy is what powers the entire city of monsters, of where the monsters live. But, and spoiler alert for you, but still watch it. It's really cute. But in the end, what they find is that we don't need to scare. We don't need the negativity, this low vibrational stuff. And that the laughter, they become like comedians, right? They bring joy out of the kids. And that energy is what starts to power their city. But long story short, loosh is that screaming, that fear, that trauma, that pain, that energetic embodiment of all that is what feeds these entities, these whatever it is, right? And then so we've also discussed how, oh goodness, there's not just one creator. There's the creator of light, there's a creator of dark, there's many creators. And so on planet Earth, not everybody is the love and light, right? There is also that darkness that comes in. What is the purpose of that darkness? What is the freaking purpose of that darkness? Right? Because that could piss me off. I know, like I catch myself saying, yeah, totally.
That gets you really wild.
But it makes you mad, right? Because you're like, I don't want to see the darkness. I don't want to be part of the darkness. I don't want to experience the darkness. I don't want to hear about the darkness. And yet it exists and it's very, very present. And then let me continue my tangent. If this is really a free will planet, if this is really a free will planet, right? Because that's how it's sold. Planet Earth is the only planet that allows you to have free will. You can be who you want to be. You can be what you want to be. Yet we come here and that's actually limited. It's not the truth. I can't be and do whatever I want. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I can. I don't know. But you're limited. And it's like, at what point did that become a limiting thing? Because that's no longer a selling point. You can't sell planet Earth now as some free will oasis because it's not a free will oasis.
It's like, Yana, this is bringing up something that I wanted to ask Amanda before, because you guys have caused me, that's a very big lack of responsibility. Before I even met you guys, this is so off my planet, so I can't even believe I'm saying this shit out loud, but let's go for it. So theoretically, there's entities, energies, whatever, that want to reincarnate here and want a body. So that I find very confusing as well then. So
okay. So are you talking? Okay, wait. Are you talking about then like
like walk-ins and stuff like that?
Okay.
For instance, to keep it kind of basic.
But are you necessarily assuming that walk-ins are of the light?
No, I'm not. But I'm just saying that, there is something obviously like, we might be all sick of this sort of like roundabout thing, but there's something still apparently very desirable about coming to Earth.
There is something valuable and causing people.
There's competition for it. There's lineups for it. It's this weird. So I'm interested in what that is.
It's about freeing a race of beings. It's about freeing a planet. It's about It's about the fact that we know so little about what is actually going on, about the deep. Oh, okay, I won't even mention that because that's like that would probably go ding, 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 ding. Do you know what I mean? We about so little information about what is actually going on in this planet and who is actually controlling the planet or controlling the different countries or controlling the different, I don't know what they call it, continents or whatever.
Right.
The people
like who
think it is.
Who are the powers that be?
Who are the powers that be? And it's certainly not the people that you think it is that's standing up there, call it MP or Prime Minister or President. It really isn't. And it's, there's a documentary program that's just come out on with Dr. Greer. He's talking about, it's not even talking about UFOs. But it is talking about UFOs, but it's not talking about has anybody seen them and everybody and the validity of them. It's really talking about the fact that they are here, they have been coming here. The government, and it's not even your president doesn't even have any knowledge of this because it's really based a lot in America. Doesn't even really have. They don't even have access. Clearance or access to the information. But there's been a lot of collaboration between humans here and these other beings, whether their planes have crashed or whether they've come in and they've actually got them whole, whereby they have reverse engineered their own crafts and things like that. There's been a lot of trafficking of humans out of the planet, women, children, people. So this is where we go dark. This is where I usually get slapped with a sausage. Being trafficked out off the planet. But these things, all of this exists. It's not been run by it's been run by massive organizations that are behind all of it, that have access to all of this. And so there is so much that we don't know. And as time goes on, as the years pass, as the millennia passes, all the experiments, because what they're also talking about is that the experiments that are being done with a lot of these people that are being trafficked out is DNA experiments, whereby many of them will die. Literally 90% of them will die because the experiments that have been done are horrific because of this whole thing. And I don't know whether or not you'll have heard, it's been talked about for years about hybrids, the hybrids that have been created or that are being created, that are walking the planet right now. Do you know what I mean? And all of this kind of stuff. So
I don't know about the hybrids. Do you want to just tell me and the listeners a little bit?
Well, the hybrids, there are a lot of genetic experiments that happen and that go on without your knowledge. Do you know what I mean? Which is one of the things whereby I won't do none of that genealogy thing because they say that when you do it, I'd love to do it, but when you do it, it says in the fine print, they then own your sample that you have sent in. They own it. So they could do anything they want with it. So although you've sent it in to find out, whether or not you're coming from, 60 different, cultures, they then own it and they can do whatever they want with it. Whatever they want with it. So they can clone that. I don't really want to see 5 of me walking around. So I think that's just me out there.
There's millions of you walking around.
Well, there are, versions. But, and somebody was the person that rang up the restaurant the other day.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But there is so much that's happening. And so for me, when we don't know who we are and we don't know what power we hold, see, we've been trained to think that we can't handle memory. We can't handle anything. We can't even handle ourselves. Do you know what I mean? We don't know how to do anything. We don't know how to do that. So we believe that. And we believe that if we're being given that, well, that's just going to be too much. How are we going to handle it? We'll just, why will I need all this? Why will I need all of that? But if we had been like that from the very beginning, don't you think that nature would have created a way whereby we would have access to, we would be able to handle and be all that we are? Why do we need it to be given to us in these little micro doses throughout 1,000 lifetimes? Do you know what I mean? And then you reach the 1,500 lifetime and say, oh, here I am, I'm evolved, I've got it all back. It's bullshit. And well, as far as I'm concerned, it is. But there's so much that is going on behind closed doors that we don't know about. I mean, all of you have been through the J-seals. Sorry, Daniel, have been through the J-seals. You might not remember a lot because you were quite maybe, altered and stuff like that. But if you listen to the things that happens within the J-seals, they're actually called the death seals. So you have a race of beings that have come in and will shorten your lifespan. They've already shortened the lifespan. Human beings used to live to 200 odd years old. How is it now that we can barely get past 80? Do you know what I mean? And why? Because nobody wants you to be living past 200 years old because that doesn't play the game well. Get them up to 80 and 90, you get them back into recirculation. Let's get them going. Let's fire up this, whatever it is, that conveyor belt, and let's get them back into recirculation. Let's get all these souls back into recirculation all the time. So far you're in a spin. You don't even know who you are. You don't even know the power of what you are. Do you know what I mean? I'm just, but there, like I said, there is so much. It's coming to light now anyway, as I was speaking about the stuff. So anyway, that program I was talking about is a really good watch with Dr. Greer.
So,
sorry, Daniel.
When it comes to the ET stuff, I mean, I've gone down rabbit holes, and Stephen Greer is the one who rings the truest to me. After all these years of watching him, he's been the most consistent.
Yeah.
And I don't fully buy into everything because, of course, there are questions that I have like, well, why is this guy still alive if he's out there, fighting this big system? Why haven't they taken him out yet? But I haven't heard him say that he has protection. So, okay, maybe that leads me to believe that there are these groups that are out there. So that's one. Another thing is, yes, I heard him bring up the trafficking thing, or abducting humans, but I haven't heard him mention about taking them off planet. So I don't know, is that conflating what other people have said?
Well, have you
bringing into
Yeah, it could be because the thing was, sorry, Yana, the thing was that
By the way, I'm about to fucking go off in a minute in a good way. You guys will like it.
okay. Okay. Right. So there's two separate sets of trafficking that's happening. Okay, that's happening in this planet, on this world. One is with the children that are being trafficked. That's a whole separate ball game. And then what they were talking about is that a lot of people are being trafficked. So the difference, what they were trying to talk about in this was that some of these crafts that they were seeing were made by us, and some of the crafts were not made by us. And so there is obviously a collaboration between the
off-world beings,
the ETs, and these. But there's been a long time talk about the fact that Mars is inhabited underground. There are many bases on Mars and underground. So, and there's many experiments that go on. So what the guy was saying was that when they stumbled upon it, they were actually soldiers. They were actually soldiers, and they stumbled and they came upon it. There were all these SAS guys there, and they didn't know if they were going to be killed or not. They were because the program was really about whistleblowers, and I think 3 of them have actually been in court to speak about it. Not in court, but in front of the whatever. Because they're all soldiers. Yeah, and so what he was saying was that they saw these trucks with all these. There were these cages. There were these trucks with cages in it, and these kind of systems with it that deliver oxygen into the cages or something like that. And when they're loaded, and they've all been loaded on, and there were also cages that would have been used for humans, to put humans into, load it on, and then it went onto this platform, and then the platform just rose, it joined with the top half of the craft, and then it just shot off to the left. Wait, that's what he said, it was to the left. So, when Dr. Greer said that when he got information from another higher up person, very high up, they said that he knows what the systems are. Those systems are oxygen systems, and they're used in trafficking. So whether it's off planet, in planet, I can't confirm that, but I'm just joining also other information, because I've got loads of information from everywhere, kind of thing, Bobby. So, but there's just a lot of experiments that goes on.
Okay. Wait, hold on, Daniel, and you can. I'm going to let you just explode, okay? But has anybody heard about the 20 and back program?
The who?
I'm shocked. The 20 and back?
No.
Okay. Again, I have no way to prove this. I never experienced it. However, I also have done years ago, I went off the deep end, and I dove, scared myself, stopped, dove, scared myself, stopped. And one of the programs that was actually really discussed in many, many different places is this 20 and back. And so essentially what that is it's one of those where you are essentially trafficked into this program where you spend 20 years off planet as a slave, if you will, Mars, different kind of planets, and you're doing whatever you're doing. But when you're brought back, it's as if time stood still and that a moment had passed. And so you served your time over there and you came back.
Well, like back into your body at that point, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
There is also space trade where it's not just gold they're mining. It's not just humans. Oh, God. I almost feel like I need to sausage myself. But if you have actually seen any depositions from a certain place that helps women
is it the PP?
Yes.
Okay.
They actually sell
sausage PP.
Yeah. They actually sell the remains.
The remains.
Who the fuck is buying these remains? And it's on record, it's on court transcripts, it's on depositions. This is a real thing. It's not conspiracy. I'm not making it up. Who the fuck is buying that shit?
Well, I mean, there could be a lot of deductive reasoning also, because I think there is the whole stem cell thing. Not saying that this isn't taking place.
Stop. There is no. Well, that's not even a debate, a discussion as to why any of that is sold. Especially if it's for the good of humanity, how come no woman knows that this is happening? Okay, so I have. We'll just keep.
Again, I'm not saying
where
that, but that's
where
like
we're going.
that's using deductive reasoning to say,
No.
well, they're selling it,
No.
therefore it is being shipped off planet.
Yeah, the whole thing is just.
How do we know it's not just some like sick pervert who just likes to, paint portraits with this stuff? I mean, that's I know, but you know what I mean? Like they're doing this, therefore it must be this that it goes to. Can it just be maybe that is happening? But we don't know. Yeah, so
100%. Do I know where these remains are going? No. But I can guarantee you, wherever they're going, it's not for my highest good or yours. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, because we probably know if it was. Like, it would just be more out in the open of saying, this is what we're doing with all these discarded things.
Yeah.
And
so
the research shakers are a bunch of fucking morons also, though. I think a lot of people are power hungry and think like, oh, we're doing this for the greater good. Again, not to excuse anything, but I think it's deductive reasoning that leads us down a path. Like, so I want that someone come on the podcast, and it's an episode that I haven't aired yet. And it was a really far out there idea. And I didn't align with the idea fully. And this person said that I was, very close-minded or simple-minded, and that I was an outside the box thinker. And I just say, do you know what I do for work?
Right.
So when I started coming around all this stuff, look, I'm certified in QHHT, which is Dolores Cannon's method. And reading her books before I became certified, I started to see the concept of star seeds popping up. And at the time, I said to myself, okay, a lot of these sessions were taking place in the 80s and 90s when, they don't really have the internet back then, or you couldn't really find a lot of that. Mm. So I used deductive reasoning at that point and said, okay, these people didn't have anywhere to draw this information from. Therefore, it must be completely organic. And this concept is real because, well, it's coming out of this state of hypnosis. And years later, I came to find out, through a deep dive of the origins of the term starseed, that its concept actually goes back over 100 years. So, it had its roots supposedly in, supremacy and things like that. Because, of course, beings from another planet, can you put yourself on a higher pedestal? And again, I'm not discounting that starseeds are a real thing. I do believe that there are souls or beings who have come from elsewhere to incarnate to help this planet in one way or another. I am on board with that. But I used that as my basis for, this is 100% real, because how would these people know? But when I learned about the history of the term, I took that step backwards and I said, okay, well, they still had metaphysical bookshops in, say, the 60s, especially with the hippies and things like that, where sure, there were these little groups of people where these concepts spread. And then when I kept going with that, I'm like, okay, in the 80s, this would be the natural evolution of people having these powwows 20 years earlier, and then spending a lot of time convincing themselves, I am this thing because that is what makes the most sense. This is why I feel so out of place, because I must have come here to save the earth. Again, and I need to reiterate, I do believe in this, but I also believe in psychosis. So I believe that there are some deeply troubled individuals who convince themselves of these things because it's easier to say, that's why I experience all this shit and this hardship and I feel out of place, instead of saying, hey, that guy was mean to me when I was 7. And that's really stuck with me. It's easier for me to think that I came here to be Superman. Again, some of this is I may be speaking from experience, because this is a lot of the way that I viewed myself for a very long time. until I took that step back and I said, okay, because I was in this class called Contemplation Inquiry, and the concept of shadow work came up. And it was about 10 people in this class. And when it came around to me, I said, this is stupid. Why would I look at this? I already know my purpose. I'm here to save the fucking world. I may not have a cape on, but that's what I'm here to do. Why would I look at my shadows? That's just gonna stray me from my path. This is stupid. Boy, was I kidding myself. And here's the ironic thing. I was already a practitioner at this point too. I was already guiding people on journeys, and I think I was better about not projecting onto them though of, I stayed more tight-lipped because I also understood that there was a deep responsibility that came with the position that I was in, and that I did have the ability to shape belief systems. But when I was on that 100% belief train of the concept of star seeds and purpose and everything, it still wasn't a fact. So that's why I didn't approach it that way with my clients. And another thing is, when you look at something like QAnon and the whole conspiracy in the United States.
Oh my God.
I think it was fucking brilliant because I believe that there probably was some truth sprinkled in there. But the easiest way to hide something is in plain sight. So if you sprinkle that 3% truth in with like 97% bullshit, if that 3% truth is brought up, then it's automatically associated with the bullshit, and people will write it off. And could there be cabals and groups that are organizing these things? Yeah, could be. I mean, it's very possible. And it would make sense to hide your crimes in plain sight, because if the walls are closing in on you, do I believe in the whole sex trafficking thing in the trafficking of minors? Yes. Is it done for nefarious purposes beyond just perverts? It could be. And the best way to hide that is to say, oh, this was happening in the basement of a pizza shop. Because then, the masses who don't take the time to actually think about it are like, that is so absurd. None of this could be real. Yeah. And it gets diluted, unfortunately, at that point, because it's taken off the path. Then, of course, you have Jeffrey Epstein, who 3 years after, the whole pizza comet thing dropped, I think a lot of that was overshadowed too. So these things are there, and I think they have their basis in things that may be real. But again, I think there may be conflations that take place. And one of the things that's irked me about the spiritual community is this belief that because, people in the community, we may have our eyes open and may be more aware of these things, that we are not susceptible to being duped. Because I think, if anything, that makes us the most susceptible to being duped, because we're like, you can't get us. We see what's going on. And who the fuck do you think they're going to come after if there really is a shift taking place on Earth? You think it's going to be the fucking drones? People who really can't think beyond, well, just what it, fill in the blank, or who have the desire to look deeper at things. It's like, no, if there is something energetically going on here, and there are groups, and look, it could be aliens, or it could just be fucking power hungry people who understand something beyond what we know to be the truth or real, because maybe these things are being hidden because of just, this power and control. But if you look statistically, at least in the United States at this point, as we're recording this, what is it, December 30th of 2024, more and more people are, or I guess, not identifying as religious anymore. It's continuing to drop off. And whether they become atheists or believe in something else, I don't know how far that goes. But what if the left, well, one, also I'd say, how do we know that the right or left is the right way to go when it comes to the light? Because I think you'd have to actually go there and then to know,
Test it out.
And
No, it's like Kylie find out with the rods. The rods never lie.
but also were the rods asked which way the light
Right
was?
question. Yeah.
And so on and so forth. Yeah, I think because you got to always ask the right question, and also again at that point using the deductive reasoning. Well, if the rod said this, then it must be everything because it's not taking everything else into account. And what if this is just the next natural evolution of straying people from the path? If this is the prison planet concept, I mean, look, personally, I think it's possible, but I also think it's fucking beautiful. All the pain and hardship that goes on this planet. Not that I'm a fan of it, but because I think it does create these situations for us to learn and grow. And just like Rachel was saying, it's like, well, if you make a choice to come into this place, you're coming here for a reason. And maybe you know that you're going to be coming on this cycle. But I think bad things just happen. And when I was looking at a lot of this deeper, at least a decade ago, it all rooted back to it was easier for me to look at the the boogie woogie man outside, that is in control of everything, and for me to be angry about that because it was easier than looking at what I was carrying around inside because I was afraid of looking at those things. And I mean, the irony is, I think there was some fear being generated on some level of like, oh man, they're in control. Like they've controlled every aspect of our lives. Everywhere I look, it's this and that. They're in control. It's like, I hear people saying, oh, well, I did this and I saw matrix codes. Therefore, this is a virtual reality. It's like, I don't think that fucking proves it's a virtual reality. I think it just proves that maybe there are codes and when you're looking at a wall, when you're in this state where it's the build of things or the makeup, we don't know. Maybe we just can't see that with our senses. But what if this is the next natural state to keep us here? It's planting this seed because from what I understand, when it comes to the Anunnaki, and I need to just reiterate this, I don't know if I fully buy into it or buy into it at all. But then on the other hand, it could be. It could very well be, from what my understanding and all this, the way that's been laid out, it's like, wow, this really makes a lot of sense. But I also heard an expression with writing that only fiction needs to make sense. So you look at a guy who's fucking walking on water. The story may make a little bit too much sense. Do I believe that there was a Jesus? Yeah. Do I believe that Jesus walked on water? Probably. Do I think that Jesus was remarkable? Yeah, I think so. Do I believe that Jesus was the Son of God? Well, I think we all are to some extent, but I think that he may have embodied more of that than all of us. This is also coming from a fucking Jew. By the way, I may or may not have been Judas in another life. That's still up for debate. But, we can cover that at another time.
I could see that happening.
Right. It would make sense as to why
as another Jew, Daniel, like, let's not call each other fucking Jews. There's enough of that. Just Jews, babe. Just Jews.
Look, I already listed the 4 things I have working against me. Jew is not one of them for that
well,
point.
It's true. That,
Puts me in one of the minorities at least. So, but it's like with the Bible, I think a lot of what turned me away from that was still going by the story. Only fiction needs to make sense while not taking into account, well, maybe it was a way to make things make sense for the masses in a way that they could understand at the time. But maybe it also wasn't fully as presented. So, but again, there were little bits and pieces that were filled in to contribute to an understanding. And even with this narrative of going to the left instead of going to the right, maybe it's a conflation of things that are taking place, because I think it also comes down to who do you put your faith in when it comes to your information that you're receiving. As a practitioner, doing past life regression and listening to the stories that people tell, am I going to solely put my faith in what's being presented because I'm like, I'm the fucking best past life regressionist in the world. I'm going to have these people in 110%. There is no chance for them to be projecting anything that they have picked up outside because I'm so good. I'm the best. This couldn't be. Or am I going to say, there is a chance that this could be projection and I haven't fully gotten them in, or they are not allowing themselves to go in because they need the story that they're presenting right now. They may very well need it, so they're not going to allow anything other than this story to take place. And then am I going to be so arrogant to walk away from that and say, so I'm the fucking best, so I'm going to go out there and treat this as fact and go and spread this message to the world because it came through this person who I think is remarkable in one way or another. But looking at them as something other than human. And then do I come in, Amanda, or do you want me to?
I do. I hear everything you're saying, and all of it, is 100% in the mix. But I don't think it comes down to just the fact that, because, okay, so what I'm trying to understand is, are you putting it down to being mindful about where your information comes from? Are you putting it down to being mindful about how you separate yourself as a practitioner and be open to the fact that all things are possible? Anything is possible, anything is viable. So it's about I suppose, the integrity of how you set up your work or how you set up to work. So I'm just asking the question because there's a lot of things thrown in there that seems to come in a sense of a place of crap. What is it? I'm trying to say is that, okay, maybe I should just come from what I'm trying to say. I never came in to save the planet. The planet doesn't need saving. The world doesn't.
No, I did.
Oh, okay. So I'm understanding now. Okay, right. But you know that is also okay. So, but and I never came in to save humans. What I believe that I came in to do, I'm just talking about me, is that what I believe I came in to do was that I came in with some form of memory. And I kind of came in and say, hey, listen, I have this memory, I have this knowledge, I have this understanding, and it's growing all the time within me. And I think what I agreed to do by coming back is to facilitate that in everybody that finds me. So if you find me, there's a reason that you found me, and it's not an accident. If you know me or if you come to me. For me, I seem to attract a lot of people that the first thing that comes out of their mind, comes out of their mouth is, without even knowing. I mean, obviously the podcast has now brought me out in the world so that people, they sometimes now people are finding me because of how I present on the podcast, and that's what they want. But even up until then, a lot of people have presented to me with, I'm so tired of this constantly going round and round and round. And I know it isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. And I can't figure out what it is I'm supposed to be doing here. But all I seem to be doing is born, I live this life, I die, and I come back. And this wheel, and this wheel, and this wheel, and I'm done. And I'm done. So inside me, I'm thinking, that's crazy. Because like, that's me. Do you know what I mean? So I am discovering also, for me, it's not what I'm discovering through everybody that I meet, through the conversations that I'm having. I'm beginning to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and I'm really trying to understand what exactly is happening. So I hear and I listen and I shift through everything. So but then there's also, I don't know if you know the whole, in a sense, dimensional thing that I think it's in, I think it's in the fourth dimension. No, it's not fourth dimension. It's when you're, I think it's fourth dimension of existing. Then it's all about saving the world and saving the planet and stuff like that. It's about how you begin to shift and move through these different dimensions. And it's all okay because, like you said, it's all a growing process. It's all a shifting process. And I've always said, sometimes people are just shit. People are just mean. People are just evil and they're wicked. It's got nothing to do with this or that or anything. They're just wicked people. They're just horrible. I get all of that. But what is it I'm trying to say? I can't get over the fact that I 100% have memory of, and I think I've got to a place in my life whereby I think that something got switched on, and by getting switched on, I keep speaking about it, and I keep trying to tell people, you're not learning. We are been placed, we've been raised, we've been grown like that within our DNA to believe that you're learning, that you're learning, that you're learning. You're not learning. You are in a memory cycle.
Marika, you say you're 100% of that memory, or you have 100% memory
of that within my body, and it's almost
but
like
do you have 100% of that memory though?
Of what all of my memory?
Do you have 100% of that 100%? Because let me give you an example for that.
Yeah.
There was a past life that I had, a really simple one. Don't need to get into it because it'll waste time. But sometimes when I have regressions, I revisit lives. And I thought, because of what I had seen, that I had seen everything. And I fully believed that I had the entire picture of what was being thrown at me in that life and what it meant to me in this life.
Yeah.
And then I discovered that I didn't make it all the way, because I thought that, because I saw the death and I saw some of the moments leading up to that death, that I had the entire picture of what set that death into motion. But I didn't see the 10 minutes in between the last thing I'd seen and the death. And that changed things dramatically. That. And it was something I wasn't ready for.
Yeah.
Years earlier. And I thought that this is the way it is, because I'm like, I have, birth till death. And that was stupid of me to think. Because this guy lived 30 some years. And for me so
I get it.
There'd be more to.
I get it. I understand what you're saying. So in terms of me, what I'm doing is that I'm putting together a long sort of years of my memory. That how do I, at 5, 6 years old, sit on a bench at school, and I'm sitting down there considering God, considering what is this all about? I'm 6 years old. What is this all about? If and when I die, this goes on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Do we exist like that forever and ever and ever? I can see still where I'm sat in the school by myself, not because I had no friends. I did have friends. I was just contemplating.
As most 6-year-olds do.
This is definitely what was on my mind.
Exactly. Just see what I'm
By the
saying?
way, I was being sarcastic, sausage.
So was I.
Yeah. And contemplating this, and then it wasn't at 5, 6 years old that I was having spiritual conversations with my parents. That wasn't happening. Do you know what I mean? Even though everybody knows that my whole family was all like, spiritual conscious. My mum was psychic and me, all that kind of stuff. So, but at 5 and 6. And I know it was that because I know where I was sitting, because our school was separated up until 5. You was in one part, and 6 from 7 onwards, you were in one part. So yeah, 5 to 6. Yeah. So, and knowing, and then going to secondary school and finding friends that were in all these different religions, Muslim, Hindu, everything else, for us to be having these conversations. So while everybody else is running around, doing up a madness in the school fields, we're sat down there having these spiritual conversations. Well, what's your belief, and why do you believe in 600 different gods, the Hindus, and why do you believe in all these many different gods, and why do the Muslims do this, and why do all of that? And we're having these conversations. So for me, I've been putting together, or I've been trying to collect and remember from since I was a child. I've been trying to remember to get to a point whereby I could then, like how Rachel was saying, it would feel like I was learning. I could then, I do, and I do believe that happens, as like Rachel said, that you get to a point whereby you realize that I may be stepping into new territory here. This may be the point where I left off the last time. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that it's gathering. I think what I'm trying to what we're trying to do is to get people to get to the place whereby they're gathering, they're remembering. Many of us born and die, we never even touch it. We never even touch it. Do you know what I mean? Never even touch the fact that there is so much more amazing stuff to us. And I think that's what gets me every time, that we live this life without ever knowing that there is so much, I don't know. I don't really know how
what if it all comes down to faith ultimately? That just like you said, that the right people find you, or that these people find you because you're the right person for them. And because something that brought a lot of chaos into my life, when I stepped into this purpose, if I'm here to save the world, that's what I came here for. Anything else, I'm not going to listen to it. By the way, these are the conversations I was having with myself, because I would never say this shit out loud. But probably shouldn't have said it that way. I'm sorry. It's the Jew in me. We'll chalk it up to that. I could put it, it's just a bunch of anti-Semites that I'm talking to right now, except for Rachel.
Oh,
don't count me as an anti-Semite, man.
That's anti-Semitic. It's anti-Semitic, everyone.
Just because you're Jewish doesn't mean the Jews don't get on your tits. So,
Yeah,
listen,
what
I
Rachel
consider
said.
myself a token Jew, okay? So I feel like I'm like a part of. I know it's true. Just continue.
Okay, well, on behalf of all Jews, welcome.
I don't understand the maternal line, but my great-grandfather was Jewish.
See, there we go.
I know.
It's
And what's it saying? If you're sugar enough to think you're a Jew, you're a Jew.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Except for like,
it's if you're Mashugana, which is if you're foolish enough to believe you're a Jew, you're a Jew. It's what the first female prime minister of Israel said when they were talking about, Jews making aliyah to Israel and how they were going to decide who was going to be Jewish and who isn't. And she said in Jewish humor, basically, if you're stupid enough to own up to being a Jew, you are a Jew. So
I'm sure that
anyway,
a lot
this
of
has gone way off
with that. But
I agree. But anyway,
so what was I saying about the? Oh yeah. So when I had this mentality that I could save everyone, that I could be the one to be like put out, these bits and pieces to the world of the real story of what's going on, and I have the ability to talk to anyone and get through to them. And it created so much chaos in my life. I mean, just that internal chaos of putting that on my shoulders.
Yeah.
And
massive pressure.
Oh yeah. I mean, all self-imposed.
Self-imposed, correct.
Yeah.
But it was also easier for me than looking at my own pain. So it's like, even when you were saying at the beginning, Amanda, like when you were asking, like, what's it all about? Is it about, the way I approach my business, or is it about the sources who I gain the information from? And it all comes down to fear and the way I confront my own fear in the fear of the external world. And the way that I look at it too is, let's just say, that this is real, that there is, beings that are harvesting off of our emotions. Then the best thing that I can do as a practitioner is to not contribute to that fear, and to be like, hey, let's help you get rid of that. Maybe I have this gift of helping people revisit past lives to release the fear that they've been carrying around for so many lifetimes. So these beings can no longer feed off of it. But is my goal to, because I'm fighting back, because that's the way I punch them in the fucking face, is I help people release it. But is that my motivation, or is it looking at this person and say, I think that I can help? And I think that these are the things to look at. And I think these are the takeaways, but it's up to you what you decide to take away from this experience in this session.
Yeah.
And I personally think that if this is the application, that's not the way that I would do it, but it's up to you and what you decide to do. And with the darkness component also, I think Yana brought this up earlier about, these gods of dark and light. And, that maybe not all people are here from the light. Well, I can tell you, it is my belief from things that I've seen. Again, this is from the 100% that I'm working from, but I don't think I have the whole picture. But from what I understand right now, I've done some awful things in past lives, fucking horrendous things. So when I look at those people, I'm like, well, they must have been from the dark. But wouldn't that mean that I'm from the dark also, if I have the same soul is that person? And and am I working
No,
from
but
the darkness right now?
but I think Yana, what Yana was saying, well, I think that came what Yana was saying, if I could side with what Yana was saying. Yana was really talking about the fact that is there just one God, or is there, I think, is there a source, and then out of that source comes all these other different gods. So and so there could be a god for many different things, but there are other creator gods that exist. And they have names. I couldn't tell you what their names are right now, but there are other different creator gods.
Just call him Bob.
Oh my God, what is with
Bob?
Bob
And his balls.
Maybe
And Bill.
but even with that creator component, how does that crossover happen between me being a monster and me being what I believe to be a good person now, and doing the best that I can do to do the right thing? Or does that, the soul that I inhabit, or body that I inhabit in this soul, if it's one soul that has these experiences, does that all come from something bigger and better, and a creator, and which I believe to be benevolent ultimately, and in having this existence right now? Because I mean, also to swing it back around to the remembrance, I think the way you remember is you forget. I think it's having all those experiences that I started to see the horrific lives later on, through my exploration of past lives, because I wasn't ready to see that early on when I was exploring these things. I wouldn't have been able to handle it.
Right.
But then I started to remember, because maybe I've also hit this part of my evolution as a soul where this was the life where I started to remember, because I had to go through that forgetting of all of those lives to then remember and integrate, and also hit this point in my evolution where I'm not looking at every decision that I make and every action that I take and applying it to one of those lives. And if I'm a jerk, if I go say something mean to someone right now, like after this, or even this conversation, I could be like, oh, it's this life, that's why I'm doing it. Or it's that life. Or I say, you know what? I shouldn't have said that. That was stupid. I take accountability for that. Yes, that may be a facet of my personality, but I'm not going to put it on that. But maybe I just remember to start taking these actions of working towards something better, because then I can go out there and spread it to the world.
Yeah, I get it. So can I ask you a question then?
Yeah.
I recognize the fact that obviously the next life is not necessarily based on this life. It could be based on any life that you've ever had. But if we're looking at this life in terms of creating fodder for the next life, or a next life, what do you think, if you came back, your next life would be about?
Good question.
That's a great question. Look, first things first, I don't want to do this again. But I'm I'm gonna cop up to that. But right, I can own it.
Yeah.
But I'm also not done
perfect.
yet. Like I don't believe I'm done yet, as much as I want to be. And
yeah, that makes sense.
I personally believe that it's not determined yet, because I think that I still have hopefully many years in front of me right now.
Yeah.
And if I were to die today,
God forbid.
God forbid. God forbid, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
We do want you to come back. So
Yeah.
In physical
For
form.
the show.
I'll haunt you guys if I die tomorrow.
yeah, no, don't do that. Riley, you're on.
I believe my life would be less comfortable than it is right now, because I believe that I'm very fortunate, and that I may not have been born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but I was born in really beneficial circumstances, and that I am just very lucky and fortunate, and by extension grateful for what I have and everything I've been brought up in. And I don't think that I've made the most of the life that I've been given up until this point. So I think that the next time it would be too easy if I was given this again or more. So I think
Oh
the
my God, I need
circumstances.
to stop you. I can't even deal with what you're saying right now. Okay. Okay.
I know what she's gonna say. You're gonna get it.
No, hold on.
You are.
I'm gonna
Oh,
reflect
that's
back
bold.
to you. Hold on. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna reflect back to you the session that you gave me and Lauren Jaffe. Okay.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to throw in something else that we have, my own belief, and something we've done with the rods too. Okay. I believe that if we're living all our lives at the same time, if I, and I, for lack of better words, if I level up in this incarnation, that ripples out to all the other yanas that are playing out. We kind of all level up at the same time. Okay. So that's one thing. Then I want to bring up that session that you and I had with Lauren Jaffe. And what you did was you took both me and Lauren through, we did like a regression. I know you call it.
I did it's the group regression method where I'm not directly interacting with you, but
correct.
Yeah.
Oh, can we do that? Sorry, continue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
that would be great.
What did you say?
It's like,
The
why
five
have
of
you
us
not
do
told
a
us about
group-
this?
Oh
What?
no.
Oh my God.
Dana,
that would
you're
be
holding
the
out.
Best. That would be the
That'll be the third
best.
appearance.
Listen, once my episode on Daniel's podcast comes out, you'll hear more of the experience, right?
Spring of 2029.
Earliest. So, when we did that group regression, what came to the surface and was very obvious was that my lifetimes that showed up during that regression were very reflective energetically and personality wise, thought and belief and all that, as they are in today's times. This Yana right now talking to you. Lauren's was the same exact pattern. So that for me, being an optimistic, positive person, that reflected in those other lifetimes. And again, not to say that they were easy or like I didn't experience anything horrific or bad, but that attitude of optimism, that attitude of positivity, the attitude of I choose the light over the negativity reflected. Lauren had a very similar where her current thought belief system also reflected for her. And so it pisses me off when you say, oh, if I'm my next lifetime, I couldn't dare have anything as good as I have now, because you are always so focused on these past lives where you think or believe you've done these terrible things. And who are you now to believe you are worthy to have anything good? And it frustrates me when I hear you say it, because I knew as soon as Amanda asked that question, you were going to go into that same pessimistic space that I hate. And I want to say to you, why do you allow yourself to keep going in that space?
Okay, hold on. I do want to throw something in here though. Just bear with me. I love you. But what if it is that in that exploration of those lives, and what Daniel's explored thus far is that, but there is so much more. That's like Daniel says, it's 100% of what you know right now.
Correct.
But there could be so much more.
100%. And so the thing that I've always tried to shove down Daniel's throat is shift that focus, shift that perspective, because we can all have, every single one of us, no matter what we've done before, we can all have way more, bigger blessings, bigger opportunities, more joy, more everything. And so
did I ever say that less is more?
You better stop it right now.
No, but really, did I say that for that life though?
No, but you said, and I'm going to paraphrased. I don't remember the exact words, but the sentiment was that, God, with everything that I have, with all the knowledge of all my past lives, I can't imagine I'd be as fortunate in my next life to have at least what I have now.
So maybe where I went wrong, because the sentiment that I really meant there is maybe less would be more. Maybe I would do more with less.
Or even if you have more, it doesn't matter. It's the perspective, right? I know I can't and I love.
Well, I also look at these things very different
no,
because I
we
see that
love
people who
each
are
other.
kings and queens are the most miserable out of all, people.
100%. I
Yeah.
had a lifetime during that too. I get all that. It's not about having the riches. I'm talking about internal optimism, joy, faith, like all these beautiful things that we innately are born with. And it's like, is your glass half full or is your glass half empty? Because it doesn't matter how much money in the world you have. Is your glass half full or is your glass half empty? And if your glass is half empty, everything's going to show up half empty. And so that frustrates me when I see someone in that space, because especially with you, I've told you a million times, I love you and I care about you. And I just want to see you like come to that other side. And I'm not saying you are less than, of course I'm not. No one is better, less, more, or any of that crap. Okay.
No, I'm better. It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just you just shine so much. And I want to see you sitting in that shining energy, but like truly embodying and knowing that you are that shining energy.
And I appreciate that. And the way that, I see it as different because I see it as me wanting to make the most out of what I have now, because the question still is like, well, what's the next life going to look like? I said, well, if I went today, this is what I think it would look like. But just like you were saying, it's about the ripples and reverberations that happen, and that can change if I make the most out of what I have. So maybe I'll finally get my ass into gear. By the way, everyone, when's this premiering?
Next week.
Like what day?
2025.
You want a calendar right now?
It'll be the 6th, 7th, 8th. It'll be the 7th, 8th
January.
January 7th. Okay. So one of the ways that I play small is by not talking about things that haven't happened yet. And my fear is also when things are out of my control that they're not going to happen. So I just keep my mouth shut. I may have had little rumblings with people in the crowd right now about a project that I've been working on for the better part of the last 8 months. And this is where the growth happens of like, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And I'm not going to let that fear hold me back. But my show, The Past Life Regressionist, at this point will be debuting on New Reality TV on January 6th.
Yeah.
And
congratulations.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Then there's that fear that creeps up in me right now that's like, oh, fuck, what if it doesn't happen? What if something happens and the launch doesn't happen on that day? Because the launch didn't happen in May when it was supposed to, when I was with a different network. And what if the launch doesn't happen for circumstances that are out of my control? Are people going to view me as a failure because I said this thing was going to happen and it didn't happen? And me bringing this up right now, yes, is to promote it, because everyone go check it out if you're watching this right now. But then it's like, oh shit, well, what if it doesn't launch and they go check it out? It's like, oh, that Daniel's full of shit, or it didn't happen. But I want to, again, this is shit that I
that you tell yourself,
stories that I tell myself. Yeah. And I take this step right now to confront that, because I'm like, if it happens, it happens. Amazing. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And it's those little shifts, because I see right now that I have the opportunity to promote the show. And if I didn't right now, then that opportunity would pass me by. So it's making the most out of what I have right now. And in turn, I think I shifted things right there for that life that I may have been living, say, or what the next one was going to be 10 minutes ago, because I confronted my fear right there. Because it all boils down to fear. It's the fear of, what are others going to think of me if this thing doesn't happen that I said was going to happen? Is this going to challenge my credibility, or are they just going to, think I'm not with it, or a loser? And I could also look at all of the lives where, just still take your pick. But it's like, no, as Daniel, this is something that I need to work on right now. And when it comes to the prison planet concept, I can look at that as a gift and a blessing that I've been, not to advocate that I think it's good if that's the case. I don't know why I keep having to swing back around to these things. Like, no, I'm not advocating on behalf of it. But if it is the case, let me make the most out of what I have with it. If they are keeping this cycle of fear going, I have to have faith and belief, but more than just the belief faith, because I believe that faith is stronger than belief. And the faith that there is something at the top of all this that is allowing that to happen, and that maybe it is working towards the benefit of all involved. Because I can also tell you about a session that I had years ago. And I believe I even touched on this in episode 3 of my podcast, Timeless Spirituality. It's not an episode I'm very proud of because it was early on, and it could be better because I wasn't great as a host back then. Still had to get the editing. The quality wasn't great, but everyone go check it out. Where, from what I remember, and I think this could be likened to the Anunnaki thing. My client and guest saw herself as a reptilian in another life, and a reptilian that was involved in levels of control. And I believe, this was session years ago, but I believe it was over the earth, or exerting some kind of control over the earth.
Yeah.
And do I know this to be true, that it wasn't a figment of her imagination? Or, no. I also don't have reason to doubt that, because that's one of those things like, why would this person make this up? But, or it could be a projection of the subconscious, which all of my past lives may have been that. All these horrific things I'm telling you about may just be like, because of what Jan is saying, that I'm just very pessimistic and this is the way that I see myself. And it's a way for me to tackle something. It's like, oh, I was this horrible person or that horrible person. And because it's going to apply to my life right now in a way that I can move forward. But to get back to that session, she saw herself as a reptilian exerting control over Earth in one way or another. And I don't remember her being fully on board with it, but it was just kind of what they did. But if that was true and real, which again, I believe there probably was, I think there's something beautiful. Yeah, just beautiful about her now being here and having the opportunity to view it from the other side and to experience it from the other side. And go through the motions in a different way, where she has an opportunity to grow as a soul. And what is she going to do with it? And how does she move forward with the information that's been presented in a way where it's not, I've spoken with her a couple of times. I've had other sessions with her, and she didn't get hung up on it. It wasn't only,
it just was
what it was. Exactly. And the next one was, how does she move forward with her life now and confront those things? So, right. And I think there's so many sides to it. Like, just like, if it is the case and it's being allowed to happen, maybe we all benefit in one way or another. And that's kind of like saying the person who is the oppressor. And not that as a human right now, I look at a situation like that and I say, it's wrong. It is wrong to oppress. It is wrong to control others. It is wrong. But that's from my human self. I don't know about the soul implications and the experiences of all involved and the growth that takes place as a result of that. But as a human, I'm going to wave my finger at that. But as a soul, I'm not going to pretend like I understand the complexities of it. I just look at it as, there could be more in this space that I don't fully understand. And maybe it isn't so black and white.
So 3 things. Can I just throw in 3 things? 3 things there. So
it's a good rule of 3 there.
So 3 things. So going back to what you said about, about your new show coming out and and whether or not, if it doesn't air or if it doesn't happen, stuff like that, what people will say. So I was going to say to you that, when, I don't know if you all know that, when actors come out and they do what's it called, when they do the red carpet for their film and stuff like that, and whatever, You know, they've probably got about three or four more films in the wings that they filmed over the last how many years that haven't yet been released. Haven't yet been released. And they're there. They could have filmed it 2 years ago and they might have thought that it was coming out in 2024, but it's actually not been released because it's not been finished. Production, all the kinds of stuff hasn't happened. So, you know, it comes out over the years and then you think to yourself, my God, this person's always on the screen. But they filmed that film 20, like not 20 years ago, but like 3-4 years ago, you know, and they've probably got about 4 different films in the waking. So that's all I'm saying. I wouldn't even think like that. I wouldn't think like that. But I think you're really hard on yourself. You are so incredibly hard on yourself. I think you need to just give yourself a break.
Yeah.
Just, do you know what I mean? And then there's all that juicy stuff that you can dive into, you know, because it frees up a lot of you, good stuff to dive into. The other thing that I was going to say was that I get lots of clients who have had reptilian lives before. I think that the done said thing is that, you know, reptilians are all bad, but they're good and they're bad reptilians.
Oh yeah, some of those too where they said they were good.
Yeah. Do you know? Do you know? And what was the other thing that I was going to say is that I do think though that we don't know how this would originally have worked out, because it has been messed with and it has been tampered with. That's for me. That's my truth. And so we come in, no memory. We relive. We're doing all of this. The good thing here is that we do have, these are the tools that we use, like past life regression. Do you know what I mean? You're using past life regression to free people from things that are keeping them trapped or is affecting their lives in such a way right now that, you know, illness, all different kinds of things repeat themselves in another lifetime. And people think, well, I can't figure it out with, say, I don't know, conventional medicine. So I'm gonna go and look, or it could have been a past life, or sometimes people get that awareness. So all of this stuff has purpose. These are all the tools. What this all is about here for me on this planet is when a shift in frequency is coming, there are those of us that are going to want to rise to meet that occasion, and there are those that are not going to want to rise to meet that occasion, because it means then that what they have been feeding off is no longer available.
Yes.
They may no longer exist, or even the source of their food may no longer exist. And so that is the battle that happens. So what we're doing is, like, even with like your work, what we're doing is freeing up enough of the soul so that it can be able to make that leap. It can be able to make that jump. It can be able to move in that shift in frequency, or to begin to see themselves on a whole, as opposed to in bits or broken bits that we are constantly putting together each lifetime. And that's what I think.
What if that never comes to pass, though?
Yeah, that's why we have 600-700 lifetimes to our name.
Well, but I mean, this shift in frequency, or, you know, change in vibration. What if that's because look, you guys bringing up the sausage thing, and
I can answer that. You don't have to explain it.
For the sausage thing, though.
No.
You don't know that 1,000 years from now, that could be the protection that people are putting up because it had its origins sausages here. Was where it just started as, like, you know, a joke between you guys, and then it picked up steam.
It got it could be, oh, you know, and they ask, Mummy, what's the reasons that we put sausages on the front door, or we hang sausages and we don't eat them because they are, you know,
amulets available soon, everyone. Like
the lamb's blood, right?
It's possible. It's possible. But, you know, I was going to make a joke now, Cliff Dead one. I was going to say that, you know, you were saying, like, what if it never happens? I was going to say, I never fail.
Amen. Okay. And so it is. And with that. Okay.
Kali cards, Yana, Kali cards.
Yes. We have.
Hold on. I do want to say something, though.
Okay.
So I'm butting in.
Yes.
No, I really appreciated your view, Daniel, and something that I was going to say earlier, but it was busy in here. It's just that it really, when you were saying, what can I do to help? And this is what I do. And speaking of your sessions, they're amazing. Everyone book one. So it is a collective effort. And I do feel like, and we do all have unique gifts and knowledge and ways to help people. And I really do feel as though that is what we, need to focus on in our day-to-day to keep the momentum going. And at some point there will be we'll hit a critical point, a critical mass, and it will tip. So, keep your focus and your attention and your energy into what you can do in the day that does bring, love and peace and joy and that shift. But don't be scared to jump into the shadows, because there is beauty in that too.
See, Lauren just said what I said very harsh and bluntly in a very beautiful, bold, like.
Oh, did I?
As Lauren does.
Like, this
Moral
is
of the
why
story.
words matter. Because I'm very like boom, and Lauren's like this, like lovely. I loved it. It was beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah,
and
it's like, what pisses me off about what you
totally, yes. But also to add to that, like Daniel, if that opportunity doesn't happen and another one happens, so the fuck what? If someone thinks someone's coming out and doesn't, who the fuck cares? Because let me tell you something. I've experienced that myself, and I've been hard on myself the same exact way you have. And at the end of the day, I realized every single time after the fact, who cares? Like, it didn't matter. It did not matter, except for the war that was going on inside of me. And I thought, you know what? I got to let it go. It is what it is. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. Directions changing. It is what it is. And the frequency is currently shifting. The energy is currently elevating. There are so many shifts energetically that have happened and are happening that it's like one of those where you're like I experienced it and I go, I know nothing. Everything I thought I knew, I know nothing. And I have to like recalibrate.
Deductive reasoning is a beautiful thing.
So, yeah. Okay, so
can I just ask a question just before?
Wow.
Just before.
The longest podcast ever.
Please, just a question, right? Do you guys not feel that you've done something like this before? Maybe
Totally.
not on this planet, but elsewhere for other planets, right? So that was what I meant really by the comment that we've never. I said I've never failed that. What I meant to say was that we've never failed. We've done this before.
Yeah, we failed in Kookaburra.
Oh, okay. Do you know what? There's something about Kookaburra I didn't even know even existed. But
do you know what? I have to say, when my dad passed away, I had a reading with a really talented medium, and he's like, Kookaburras, your dad will be around. It'll be Kookaburras. So I'm just like, my dad's jumping in on the podcast.
Face. Oh my God. And you didn't say that?
Huh?
And you didn't say that? That came out of...
I just said it now.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Wow.
And that
okay, I'll admit it. That could be
Carly
proof of something
cards.
more.
yes, yeah.
Do the cards, Carly.
Yeah, put the cards.
Okay, the card deck today is The Soul's Journey.
Nice.
James Van der Prague. I just thought that I don't know why I associate Daniel with like the
James Van der Prague
geometric stuff. Yeah.
I've met him.
Can I just also add, during this podcast, I just had a stack of papers literally fall off my shelf.
Okay.
So
See,
we're all
more
having
confirmation.
visitations. By blaming Daniel. The two cards that I pulled, and I thought this was important. I know we're just making this extra long today, but I thought this was really important. I pulled these cards before we started, and I'm like, WTF, I'm re-pulling these because this makes no sense. And now it does make sense, as it always does. Judgment and empathy. Okay. Judgment. James Van der Prague says, I understand that everyone has their own unique path and challenges. So there's your message for the week. Oh, geez. And empathy. I am open to seeing both sides of a situation.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kylie. And
Thank you,
we have
Kylie.
something from Lauren too before we get back to Daniel to help us close.
You know what? We do, but I'm a little bit torn. So I'm going to give you 2 titles and I'd like you to pick. Okay?
Okay.
So who pick? We pick or Daniel picks?
You,
Let Daniel
collectively.
pick.
Okay,
Feel
so
special.
I have something called If I Died Today, and another one, yeah, that might be the right one. The other one's called Divinity Looks Like You.
No,
Okay,
if I died today.
Yeah, because Daniel
Okay,
said,
we're preventing that from happening.
Okay, all right. I
Daniel,
wrote this.
to give you context, Daniel, Lauren is an exceptional writer who for years has just been writing these different segments or short stories or love letters or all that. And so whatever we talk about or discuss, whatever Lauren feels drawn to, she shares. So this is all written by Lauren.
I'm not sure this one's exceptional, but anyway, we'll see. I wrote this years ago. Okay, if I died today. It has been on my mind the last few days. If I died today, would I feel like I showed the world who I was? Did I live authentically and let people know who I truly am? Not the mother me, not the daughter me, not the sister me, not the wife me, not the friend me, not the colleague me, the real me, the authentic me. The answer is no. If I died today, the world would not know the true essence of me. Why? Because I'm scared. Hello, fear. Fear of being seen, fear of being heard, fear of being judged, fear of being criticized, fear of being rejected, fear of disapproval. Fear, fear, fear. So the question, how do I get rid of it? And the truth is, I don't know. Here is another question for you. What is the cost of me not being my authentic self? I'll tell you what, it is huge. It brings me sickness. It brings me sadness. It brings me pain. It brings me anger. It brings me frustration. The sorrow is quite simply unexplainable and it is excruciating. So the time has come to really be me, to say who I am, to say what I think, to share my wisdom, to be brave and unashamedly myself. The road from the old you to the new you, but really it is the road to the old you, if you know what I mean, is a relentless and exhausting one. There are hills, there are holes, there are dark places, and there are light places. There are deep breaths, there are shallow breaths, there are tears, and there is joy. It isn't easy, but I think we owe it to ourselves to be wholeheartedly and vivaciously the soul essence we truly are. The light is on. It is time to turn it up with hope, love, and faith.
That's beautiful.
Holy shit.
Lauren. Bloody hell.
Did you pick that out before we started today, or?
No, while you were speaking, just what you were saying, I was drawn to 2 pieces. So, yeah.
Well, that was incredible.
Thank you.
Wow.
That was beautiful, Lauren. You got to send us that.
Okay.
You got to buy her book when it comes out later. This
Yes.
Okay, as we wrap up, Daniel, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you?
Do I have to?
Yes.
Only if you want to.
So you guys can find me in it's the fears creeping in, this fear of being seen or heard. I think it's my full authentic self. You can reach me on Instagram at the Past Life Regressionist. My website is thepastliferegressionist.com. My podcast is Timeless Spirituality. And my new show is called The Past Life Regressionist. And it is a show where I do past life regressions for individuals and show them. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's and that's on New
Nice.
Reality
That is
TV.
cool.
Yes, I'll be watching that.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
No.
I'm so scared.
Excellent.
Girl Squad is cheering you on.
Yeah,
Thank
totally.
you guys.
Full
Thank you.
support. Awesome.
And just I know it's gone on long, but I want
we're
to say
so
one more
far
time.
past
Yeah.
long, like it's not.
You guys
this is
really,
episodes now.
you guys really have something special going on here, and I hope you guys continue this for years to come, and that only continues to grow, and that you bring the world along with you guys on this journey, because seriously, you each have something incredible to contribute to this group and this conversation. And you guys keep mentioning that word energy, and we talked about it before, and I'm usually reluctant to incorporate that into my lingo, but I will say it. You guys have an amazing energy going on between all of you, and it's like when you guys just get together, you really get in that flow state.
Yeah.
So please keep this going, and I want to come on again. It's fun. It's a great group, and you guys you really have something special here, and I'd love to see it continue on and to grow. So that's just
Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah.
you're welcome. Just keep doing it.
You heard
We
it.
will.
We will keep doing it. Thank you, everybody. This concludes our episode for today. If you're interested in booking a reading, a healing, a guided meditation session, a light body activation, a past life regression, or simply just want to say hello, head on over to yoursoulwisdomshow.com. We thank you for allowing us to create this beautiful space, and we hope you have a beautiful, blessed day. Bye, everybody.